The agenda today, we have an executive session for several items. Interim bonus for law clerk, assistant public defender's salary, possibility of a new human resources administrator, and was there something else that HR wanted to bring up?
The grant, I'm sorry, did you say the grant administrator adjustment?
Yeah.
That and the adjustment, yeah.
Okay, so you want to add grant administrator raise or increase. Is that all right with everybody?
Sure. I also wanted to talk about the fiscal department between
Executive, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, as a reminder, the meeting is being recorded. Anything you say will be posted on the YouTube channel in the near future.
And will be used against you. No,
We'll go ahead and move into executive session. What all do we want to cover in executive session? You can if you don't want to, that's fine. There's even that to stick around.
He's got all of his, got a lot of stuff here.
I'll take it.
Oh. Okay, well, anyway.
this is all his.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll take it too.
Good order. Not anymore.
All right, please.
I pulled it out of our first door, so. It was wrong. It was wrong.
It was wrong too.
How are you?
I'm passing it around for the sun started shining.
Okay, we'll hurry up and wrap up the salary board meeting. Sorry for the long executive session. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from April 23rd? Oh, I apologize. We were in executive session, particularly now with the press is here, for the purpose of talking about performance and corresponding pay for several employees, all of which, except for the fiscal director, will be brought up in the meeting. Have you had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, do I hear a motion to approve them?
So moved. Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. There are a couple amendments to the agenda that may be before you for those that have just joined us. First would be for courts an increase in the law clerk position, and then grant administrator increase down at the end. So first we will start with the interim bonus. Judge, did you have a recommendation on what you would like to give for the bonus?
3,000 on that. Yeah, it was consistent with before.
Okay, and this is due to the fact that the other law clerk position has been vacant since early March. Is that a motion?
I would move for
Approval
for the interim bonus for Mr. Stremmel, $3,000.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Any public comment or questions? And all those in favor of a $3,000 increase for, what is his name?
Christopher Stremmel.
Christopher Strem, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Just to be clear, that was a bonus, correct? Not
That was a bonus.
Right.
Okay, you said increase. I
Oh,
just
I'm
wanted
sorry.
to make sure.
Thank you for clarifying. Next, the open law clerk position has not been filled or even had much interest, correct? And
Exactly.
compared to other counties, we have found that our starting salary is significantly lower even compared to neighboring counties. Therefore, an increase is being requested. I believe that was in the amount of $43,200.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to clarify, we're capping it at $43,200, correct?
Right, I think it's up to the judge's discretion to offer something lower for someone that's not barred or whatever.
Yeah, so just as a frame of reference, the average for this position in 6 class counties is 48,921.
48,000?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're offering
The
5%.
low is 39,137. It's currently at 39,731, so we're at the bottom end of 6 class counties for this position. So I think that a move to 43,200 seems reasonable, especially with the difficulty to hire and keep people in those positions.
Right, and the increase, at least for this year, can be taken from the unused line item due to the vacancy. All right, any other discussion? Public comment? The motion before us is to increase the law clerk salary of the vacant position to $43,200. I suppose that would also apply to the current one, would it not?
It should.
It should. Okay. Then strike that. It would apply to the position generally speaking.
That's Chris Strem, Your Honor.
Yes.
Any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor of increasing the law clerk salary to $43,200, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, Assistant Public Defender. Mr. Parasini, did you want to make a recommendation to the board?
Sure. I have an individual who has applied for the position. She just graduated from St. John's University Law School in Long Island, New York. She plans to sit for the Pennsylvania Bar exam in July. In addition to a law degree, she also has a master's degree in criminal justice. She's also worked as a graduate research and teaching assistant for criminal justice at St. John's. In addition, while in law school, she was a legal intern at the Legal Aid Society of New York, where she assisted low-income clients. And she also served as an intern in the DeKalb County Public Defender's Office in Decatur, Georgia. So she has a real sense, a real calling for helping indigent individuals. She came up to Warren last Wednesday and spent the day with me. I think she'd be a perfect fit for the job. I think she would fit in well. She likes the community. She likes a small town environment. So I would propose to offer her $45,300 upon her hire, which would be roughly August 6th. Where she would earn that salary until successfully passing the Pennsylvania Bar exam. She would get those results sometime in the middle of October, where I propose her pay increase to $50,300.
Very good. Do I hear a motion to be clear, you make the hire, but to increase the salary for that position to $45,300 upon hire until such a time as he or she passes the bar exam, in which case it will increase to $50,300. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
So, as a point of reference, the current position, or the way this is currently stated, is $43,300 upon hire, $45,300 upon passing the bar exam. This is a position that was identified in the wage survey that we did as being over 15% below the market average. The market average is $53,144. This person will also be making less than the chief assistant to the district attorney, which I think is important to note as well. Not necessarily that that's an apples-to-apples comparison, but I just didn't want anybody to. I wanted to frame a reference that the single assistant for the public defender will be comparable to the assistants for the district attorney. And then also this is a position that we've had difficulty filling over the past 2 years with the current pay. We've had now almost a year-long total stretches of not having employment in that position because not having people that we can hire for it, and in this case this is the only real legitimate applicant we've had, and if this person doesn't take it, there's a very real possibility that we'll end up towards the end of the year without any assistant public defender in that office, which is getting an enormous burden placed upon it.
Can you review the rates for me again? Starting at
45, 300, and then 50, 300.
Thank you.
Is that clear to everyone? Any further comment? Any public comment? And all those in favor of the stated increase, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is creation of a new position, Human Resources Administrator. Mr. Hearn, would you mind presenting us with your request?
Looking at analyzing all the job duties and functions of the one HR person we have here, as well as the multiple locations, the number of employees, the number of meetings we have, and the intricacies of employee benefits and payroll, I want to recommend that we hire a human resource administrator to assist the county. And I'd like to get that approved, and then obviously there would be some other duties as well outside of the HR in terms of support, both human services as well as fiscal. So my recommendation would be to approve this new position for the county.
And in previous years, there has been at least one full-time human resources employee here at the courthouse. That was previous to you, correct, Pam? And then there was also one up at Human Services. Last year, we took 1.5 positions and consolidated it down into one, and have found that that is just too much of a burden. So I think the support is necessary. We have many projects that we know are going to take up a lot of time in HR over the coming at least couple years. So I think this makes a lot of sense. Anyone want to make a motion?
Make a motion to accept the Human Resources Administrator position at a rate of $33,000 a year. This is what's been proposed or been presented to us as part of this proposal.
This would be full-time, non-union, due to the nature of the work.
Correct.
And is there a second? I will second it then. Discussion.
I think that this position would not just be Human Resources Administrator. I think that there are other duties that can also be tacked onto it that are needed within certainly fiscal and also the Commissioner's office. I would like to see this position have other clerical duties tacked onto it when it's not working directly on human resources, which I think could easily fall in line with what's being proposed. So I think that's something that I just wanted to state, just my expectations of what this position would be, aside from assisting with human resources.
Okay, Commissioner Morrison.
I'm against creating this new position. I believe that we have staff in place that could be utilized to help with some of the duties that are being proposed that you're saying that it is so necessary that we create this position for. Pam has worked in this capacity in the past. She could be utilized again.
And for my part, I see an open position at DHS, Human Resources Director, and this is essentially that, except it will report to Human Resources here. I see this as maybe even saving money for the county taxpayers when you consider the fact that the state reimbursement would kick in at 90%, I believe, 80 to 90%. So from my perspective, this is going to utilize staff well, allow us to make advances on projects that we currently do not have the staffing to do, and ultimately not cost the local property taxpayer hardly anything more.
I would like to revisit this. We're talking about consolidating the fiscal departments and DHS with our county fiscal department. We're looking at consolidating that, but now we're looking to expand HR. And I do believe that we do have staff in place that could be utilized to help with this position. I don't think there's a need to burden the taxpayers with an increased position in the county.
Is that a motion to table?
No?
It's not?
No.
Okay, then.
I would just add that, and this is not in any way, shape, or form whining or complaining. The Commissioner's office is in Warren County is has one of the smallest staffs of any Commissioner's office I'm aware of in northwestern Pennsylvania. Most Commissioner's office have assistants, like at least one assistant aside from the chief clerk. Many of them have 2 people in human resources, especially if they have expanded duties within the county. Many of them have multiple people in the elections office. Many of them have multiple people in the chief clerk's office. Many of them have more people in other departments within the building. All of these positions were consolidated in 2009 as a part of the economic challenges that the country faced as a whole, and I think that this position not only serves, like I said, I don't think it should just serve as a human resources position, but also for other duties that can be offloaded both from the fiscal office and from the Commissioner's office in order to assist the work that's being done in both areas. So we're still going to be, I think, staffing-wise, less than you would find in Venango County, Clarion County, or McKean County, just in these offices collectively.
Yeah.
It's just important, I think, to keep in mind.
For my part, I personally sat down with the chief clerk and went over all of her duties and did a time study and found that she is working far more than the hours we pay and has a very expansive job description, so I'm not interested in offloading more to her. Further discussion from the board? Public comment? Very good. The motion before us is to create a new position, which would be titled Human Resources Administrator at $33,000 a year, which is full-time, non-union with benefits. And to be clear, we would not be filling the Human Services Director position. Is the motion clear? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Commissioners Eggleston and Catherine for, Commissioner Morrison against. Motion carries. Grant Administrator, Mr. Hearn, would you now describe that?
Yeah, as I previously communicated to you folks, historically, the county's had some challenges relative to tracking, documenting, and basically managing various grants that we get from various departments. Lori Dunlop currently oversees some of the grants here in the county, and I think for purposes of consistent communication and tracking and documentation, that we have a county grants administrator tack on a little additional duties to her to work with me in that area, not any other duties, but to just be the gatekeeper for all the departments and relative to grants, so that we're working with auditors, external auditors for state auditors, that we have a much more consistent process and ability to answer questions and track this stuff. So we don't have some of the issues we've had previously in this earlier this year. So my recommendation is to give her a slight adjustment in salary to do just that.
Okay. So you think this would be, you're suggesting $2,000
Yes,
increase?
$2,000 annually to help with these additional duties.
And what do you think it'll save us, just generally, roughly? Besides headaches, but
Multiple-
monetarily?
I mean, it's not going to cost the county. I mean, the ability to cut down on audit I won't say fines, but audit adjustments where we have to spend $6,000 or $50,000 back to the state because we didn't track something properly, or didn't have the right codes, or didn't have the right information for the state, or the time spent internally looking for information or documenting it between departments. All that's going to be overcompensate for the 2,000 annually.
Okay, can you remind me of that position's title, official title?
Grant
Grant
administrator.
administrator, really is. Okay. So the proposal is to increase the grant administrator salary by $2,000. Is there any, do I hear a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion to increase the grant administrator's salary $2,000 in order to accommodate the increased responsibilities.
Do I hear a second? I'll make a second. Further discussion?
From my perspective, it's important to note that Lori Dunlop is the grant administrator for planning and zoning and focuses all of her time currently on CDBG funding and other grants that are allocated through transportation and other things that are related to planning and zoning. In this case, she will be charged with administering the grants for all of the county. That includes probation, criminal justice, everything related to the jail and other departments in order to have a single point of contact and gather information. I know this seems on its face like it might not be much. That's an enormous responsibility. This person needs to, trying to think of a nice term, follow up with everybody in these various departments and make sure that they provide the proper information. This has been a chronic issue for us. It's been a material weakness in our audit reports annually. We've had conversations about who could possibly do it or how it should be done. I think Lori's tenacity and seriousness when it comes to figures and responsibility and reporting information, I think it would be perfect to do that, to follow up with all these various departments. And I'm trying to refrain from using the term browbeat, but to make sure that they provide information. I know that she'll be able to do that.
So her schedule doesn't currently give her the flexibility to accommodate doing this?
I think that she would have a greater degree of responsibility in her schedule, yes. Like, I don't, as far as how that equates to more time being allocated, I can't say, but it's definitely a greater responsibility.
Further discussion from the board? Other comments? Mr. Scully?
I have worked with Mrs. Dunlap probably more than anybody in the county on grants. You have an asset there that you don't want to afford to lose. She is up on everything. She can catch mistakes which you don't think you made until she shows it to you. She's very cooperative. She makes every effort to help everybody, not just the township I represent, but she's a superb history of grants in South County, extremely, and you would be making a mistake in trying to replace her.
I would like to comment on that, and I certainly appreciate what you had to say about Lori, and I certainly agree with you. Lori does a phenomenal job with the grants, and if anyone has a question regarding grants from all over the county, they go to Lori, they get their answers, and she does a phenomenal job. I'm certainly not trying to take that away from her, and I don't believe we're in fear of losing her. I don't think that she's made any comments that she's looking for a job elsewhere. However, I do believe that we all take on additional tasks in our positions from time to time, and I'm just looking at it from a dollars and cents point of view, that I really don't feel that we should continually increase someone's salary just because they're taking on a few more projects. That's my point of view.
Just very quickly, to go along to some degree with what Mr. Scully said, About a month ago, Lori took the initiative on her own to review the documentation related to our EIP grant. And the EIP is the Early Intervention Program that's currently evaluating the county for fiscal issues and management issues in order to provide a report and opportunities to change how we do things in order to save money and be more efficient. That grant was $130,000, or it was
I think it was 100.
It was. I think it was capped off at 130. Anyway, the language of the contract was written in such a way that we would have had to pay in order to have it professionally audited after the grant was finished. She negotiated a change in that language with the agency, and as a result, saved us probably $5,000 in fees for auditing that grant after the fact that we wouldn't have to pay. And that's a perfect example of the type of work that she does on a regular basis. For a lot of the people in this county, especially adult probation is a perfect example, they put their own grants together, and in many cases are not experts in how to put them together, and there are a lot of corners that they miss that I think that Lori could help them with in order to save even more money by more appropriately putting those grants together. So my point being, that's a good example of the type of savings that we see through the work that she does, and I think it's reasonable to ask her to have a hand in other those same type of projects to try to find those types of savings.
Okay. Anything else? Then the motion before us is to increase the salary of the grant administrator position by $2,000. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Commissioner Eggleston against, 1 for. Commissioner Morrison against. Motion carries 2-1. At this time, there's no further business on the agenda, so I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.